I wouldn't say for sure that it's not, because I think if you do want a pad that has an S curve in it, like if you're narrow enough that you really want that pad to curve around, like for example, our optic set has a pretty good, like I said, if that's the profile, it curves around like that. Right. If you're looking for the S curve, then they would recommend the 2X line. That's where you're going to get your S curve, sort of above the knee. That is a pretty rigid. It's got some bend to it, and I'm sure we could try and put even more bend to it, but it really is designed to be a straight line. Yeah. So you'd probably be looking at the 2X line instead of the Supreme ultrasonic line. And there's a lot of interchangeability in them now. Like for example, if you were to order a 2X pad, but you wanted the 60-degree glove that comes with the Supreme, you can actually mix graphics on there. So you'd be able to order that 2X pad either in an ultrasonic graphic or order it with an ultrasonic glove in a 2X graphic, is my understanding. The one thing you can't do is get a 2X pad with the ultrasonic knee, at least not yet. Okay. Very Next good. Question.
I got a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, Noel Smith. I'm a real old goalie, so I do a lot of coaching of just the young kids in my small little town because I'm the only game around. So I've tried learning about the new technology with the pads. The rebound control on these, do you have them in various, I guess, the way that they give pucks out? Can you have them adjusted to, like, I used to love dead pads. I like to control rebounds around me versus just using my leg to kick them out.
These are what we would call a rebound positive pad. These are just the way they built their pads, with the skin, with that firm technology. It is designed to be active rebounds, and probably for a goaltender who would err more to the side of, listen, the further this thing gets away from me, the more time I want myself to recover to my next position, the faster it's past that first wave of forwards trying to get to a loose puck. The faster it comes off my pad, the less time they have to react to tap it in, things like that. This is definitely an active rebound pad, not a soft rebound pad. It's funny, we talked to Craig Anderson about this, and he was a guy, even on the blocker, because you saw in our review with the blocker, they put the Cortex skin and the curved composite in the blocker, and like this thing is a rocket ship for rebounds. Like it really pop off hard. And as Craig told us after switching to the Bauer 2X line at the start of this season, it took some adjustment because he's a precision guy, right? He'll spot a guy in a certain spot and he'll try and put that rebound to him. Now, it came off hotter. It didn't mean he had less control. He just had to adjust in terms of how he put it out. But as he adjusted, he liked how hard that rebound, because you weren't getting caught with ones that hit it and died in front of you. If you were going to err and you missed your guy, at least it was further away, if that makes sense. But definitely from the pads, this is an active rebound. I would argue we haven't done the research and we haven't tested the new CCM access line yet. But at least anecdotally over the past couple of years, I would argue that this is the most active rebound pad that we've tested.
I'm assuming then most goalies are wanting active pads more than dead pads today?
I would say that that's definitely the trend. I don't want to speak for all. You know how it is in goaltending, right? That's what we love about the position here at InGoal, and I think everywhere, is there are no absolutes. There's no just one way. But I think for sure the trend is towards that, at least. You're always going to have your Jonathan Quicks, and I saw Billy Ranford, the Kings goalie coach, was on here earlier. I'm not sure if he still is, but I mean, Quickie's pads are like a xylophone. They're so soft, and he'd be on the side of that control element with you. But I would say, without speaking for all, the majority are trending towards that more active rebound. The idea being, hey, the further it gets away from me, the more time I have to recover for the next shot. Any other questions on the knee before I move to the strapping? Or fire away, guys. This is great.
Question on the knee. Are they light pads?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we'll let the young guy go first, and then we'll switch to you, Chris. Sorry, what was your question, young man?
Are they light pads?
Light. Yes, they are pretty light. They haven't gotten lighter than the last ones. It's funny. I realized after we wrote the review that we didn't put the weight in. And it's really kind of, I just forgot. And I basically, when we first did the review of the first line, like a 4-pound pad, nobody had a 4-pound pad. And now it's common for a pad to be 4.5, 5 pounds, and we just assume it. So much like all the other Odin lines, this is a very light pad. This is a pretty big pad. This is a 35 plus 1. And it actually, we find, it's not that it fits any taller at the knee, but because of the straight line, it plays a little taller. And some of our testers felt that. So it's kind of a big pad. Why don't I tell you what? I'm going to tell you right now how light it is because I got my handy little fish scale. I haven't caught a fish in my life, well, in a long time. Let's see what it says about the pad. There, if you can, I don't know if you guys can see that, but there, with all the strapping in, we're at 5 pounds, 2 ounces. So that's a 36-inch pad with all the strapping, all the extra strapping you can put on it, minus a boot strap. And like I said, this is a pad that we found fits a 6'1", 6'2" goaltender, and we're just over 5 pounds.
Wow, that's crazy.
Is it possible to order the size 34 plus 2.5 like in CCM?
I do believe that the sizing is standard here. So they've kind of changed the way sizing's done as a company. They go small, medium, large, extra large. 34 knee is going to be a medium for you. It is going to be a +1. Standard is going to be the +1. But like I said, what we're finding with testers is that, especially even compared to our 2S Pro, just because of that profile, it sits a little higher up in the thigh rise. Like I wore quite comfortably a size large in the last one in the 2S Pro, and my knee is actually in the right spot here, but you can see how tall that is because it is so straight on the thigh rise. It's not curved around, so it's almost up to my hip. So we do find that sort of knee up, they fit a little bit taller. I don't know that it would be +2.5 degree taller, but because of the way they're molded and built, not really designed to be ordered in those sort of, +2.5, +1.5, things like that.
Okay.
Chris, you have a question? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. One more.
Yeah. No, it's just because I'm between these two sizes. I can wear a 35 plus 2, and it's a little bit. I don't have a lot of quick feet if I'm doing. If I'm taking this size, but 34 plus 2.5, it was perfect with CCM. It was a perfect balance.
My recommendation, and I would actually encourage you to call the hockey shop because they're pretty good at sort of finding these cams.
Yeah.
We lost them as a sponsor because they're shut down for the podcast, but it's not going to stop me from plugging their
No problem.
And guys like Cam do a great job of being able to walk you through it. My hunch, you'd probably be in a medium. That a large, you might find, as much as you like the thigh rise on a large, the knee might be a little much if you're in between on a CCM. Is it Premier or E-Flex?
I had E-Flex 4.
Yeah, so I would think that you'd probably be more in a medium here because, again, that's the other thing. An E-Flex is a flatter boot. This is a 125-degree boot, so a little steeper. So when you're in the butterfly, when that pad hits here, it's going to go into the corner. But if you want it to sit a little lower, you can now custom order this in the 2S boot, which is 100 degrees, which is a little flatter. Like an E-Flex, it's going to sit more on the top of your skate rather than be propped up at an angle over it.
Okay.
Chris, you had a question I made you wait on. What? Fire
No,
away.
no problem. First, thanks for doing this. It's great. And also great to see a lot of old goalies on here. Question is on the size of the knee block.
Yes.
I'm coming from Vapors. I'm modding the knee block. And because that was kind of on the Vapors, it's kind of thin and kind of hard. And so I've kind of bumped it up.
Okay.
So I was just curious how thick it is.
Ooh. If I was a smarter man, look at that. I have my little handy Tile Town. I think I won this or one of those giveaways at a golf tournament. So we'll get the measuring tape out here, right? Look at that, hey? So that's kind of, so this is like a full two,
Okay.
kind of hard to show you that, but
I know,
you're kind of right around a little over 2. So to me, this felt more substantial. I don't know that it was necessarily thicker, like in terms of built up the way, like we've done this when we have, especially as, you know, us older goalies, we need a little more help. So we build that knee stack up to take the pressure off the ankles, the knees, and the hips. This is definitely not a thin knee stack. It felt nice and beefed up, but it's not. Mm-hmm. It's not sort of cheating thick, right? It's not overly thick, so it's going to be sort of your NHL legal size. What we did notice is quite firm on the bottom, which is good from a durability standpoint. We think in terms of sliding, but I don't know if you can see, like it's got a sort of. I didn't ask them what was underneath there, but it's almost like a gel. Like it feels like a gel. It's got a softer landing area. You know, so I don't know that you'd be able to, how well you'd be able to build it up, because of course what you've lost by having one solid knee back block is the ability to take the old pads. You're probably like me, Chris, you take the layers apart and build them up in between the layers.
Yeah, actually what I did is, because I was having trouble, I just had them made bigger, and I want to just sew them in.
Oh. Yeah,
and
that's probably
thing is a gel thing.
Yeah, that's probably not going to be as much an option with this line, I don't think. The one thing I have seen a lot of NHL guys, should be careful here actually, but we've seen the trend towards increasing the thickness and adding some padding under your knee pads.
Yeah.
In other words, the ones you wear on your leg, to sort of provide that extra cushion and that extra room and clearance for the hips and the knees. I'm trying not to overdo it. I'm trying not to overdo it, because what you gain by doing that, you lose other places. But I'm coming off my second hip replacement, so I'm kind of. We've got a few in the hip replacement club tonight on here with us. Steve waving there too.
It needs to be a thing. It needs to be a T-shirt. Right?
Maybe we'll have to add that to our in-goal sticker collection. Hey, listen, I want to move along because we do have other. Were there any other questions? Just like, do you want me to go through the strapping, guys? Does that sound like good next step?
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, I just want. Could I ask you just quickly about the trend toward super hot pads and super hard and hot pads? Yeah. It seems like in the last couple of years, like the favorite shots of players now are to try, especially with the softer pads, was to try and get a rebound off the goalie on one side so that their partner cutting in on the other side could put in the rebound. Seems like these super hot pads are maybe a reaction to that. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, the idea of a shot and a rebound, I would argue that at the NHL level, I could be wrong here, actually. It's too bad, like I said, we lost Billy there, but whether that really is a trend that we still see taught in the NHL, that old shot and rebound mentality, I would argue there are more dynamic ways to create offense. Seen through studies like Stephen Valiquette. Actually, is he willing to answer?
Billy's still there, guys.
I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm just muted.
Hey, Bill.
Billy,
Hey, Woody. Whoa, take a breath. Woody, do you know there's a gallery view where you can see everybody at once?
No, I didn't know that.
Top right of your screen.
But then I can't see me, and Hutch, as much as I love to hear the sound of my own voice, I like to see myself too.
No, the smaller you are, the better for all of us. But that way you'll see everybody.
Yeah, he would have to stop talking, Hutch, for a couple of seconds.
Doesn't happen often. Listen, hey, Billy and we've got Andy Kyoto on as well. If you guys, am I wrong? Like we had the question there from one of our listeners about that trend towards shot and a rebound, and are the hard pads with the hard aggressive rebounds a good answer for that?
I don't think it really matters. It's more what the goalie's preference is, I believe. You know, like you said, Quickie's a guy that likes to deaden the rebounds so that he can jump on it. I think it goes back a little bit to the time with Daryl Sutter, where Daryl wanted our goalies taking as many whistles as possible. We had a good face-off team, gave us an opportunity to control the puck. Whereas with these guys are moving to these more lightning rebound pads. Teams just adjust. You know, it's more, when you look at offense, it's more driving into the scoring lanes. So it doesn't matter if it comes off at 1 foot or off at 10 feet, you're still in the scoring lane. And that's what teams are looking for as far as that sort of thing. We just, you know, when we're scouting a goalie and, you know, Vasilevsky, one of the best in the league, you know, they come off hot. So we just have our guys being a little bit more patient driving the scoring lanes versus trying to be right on top of them.
And I guess if you're from the goalie side of that equation, I guess the thought process would be, at least for the guys that do prefer this, if they're going to get to that rebound anyways, if it's further away from me, I've bought myself a little time to get to that next position.
Well, there's no doubt. But I mean, a lot of these guys are such strong skaters that, you know, that little extra time, they're going to get there no matter what, just because of the power and strength that these guys have. But it's guys are, you know, every guy has his own little preference. You know, you have guys that like they're stiff, and you like guys that like it soft. And I think it's just a personal preference what you like.
Andy,
Kevin, you got a question from Sid here, who's been patient?
I've got one real, again,
Right.
what does the +1 +2 mean?
Oh, sorry. Okay, real quick there. Basically, if it is the knee is based on a 34-inch pad, so it's a 34-inch pad, and that's where the knee is located. The +1 is an extra inch on the thigh rise. We saw some companies for the longest time. We were even seeing +2s where a stock pad had 2 extra inches. I think we're seeing +1 as a standard now across the industry, including that's what Bauer's guidelines are based on. And you know, the NHL's kind of continuously brought down that thigh rise, and now, to be honest, we're seeing some goalies in the NHL. I think of Frederick Anderson in particular, and I know Michael Hutchinson talked to him recently about this as well, where they've actually gone below their maximum height that the NHL allows because they feel like not being too tall. Like again, sometimes that pad, it gets in the way and it limits your skating and your mobility and that explosiveness and power that Bill talked about when the pad's too tall and getting in the way. But that's what the +1 means.
That's what I see with the young kids I work with. Your dad just, you'll quit.
Kevin, you've had Sid here really patient with a question for a bit. Sid, you're up.
Hey, so I just wanted to add on with what everybody else was like, what Bill was saying. Just, these guys are in the NHL for a reason. They're going to adapt to whatever the rebounds are coming off these pads. They're smart. Even in, you know, we're talking midgets. Midgets are going to adapt to the play. They're there for a reason. And goalies are going to have to adapt, and players are going to have to adapt. It's just a game of learning each other, you know, like, and being patient.
Well said, well said. And they're probably definitely smarter at the midget level than they are at my level, I'll tell you that. I can fool the old men with the active rebounds. They're too slow. Hey, listen, before we go too far down this road, we did have a question that came in on the chat that I kind of missed earlier because, as Hutch pointed out, I'm not actually that bright with technology. Teddy P27, and this kind of takes us into the strapping. He asked if the Professor strap can help reduce that knee drive gap that we talked about. Remember earlier we were talking about how that CCN research actually showed the pad can get to the ice before your knee. And so that brings us into the Professor strap that they've added to this pad. I'm just going to grab the other pad. my table because it's actually done up here. So is everybody familiar with they call this their fine-tuned control strap for Bauer? Is everybody kind of familiar with the concept of a professor strap, a strap? I mean, Bill would know this. It's named after Ben Scrivens when he was with the Kings and had this on there. It's kind of a strap that goes around the top of your calf, and it's anchored, and I hope you guys can see this. It's kind of a rudimentary way of doing this here, but it's anchored on the pad just basically around the top of the calf, if you can see that, just on the back part of the calf. We've seen this increasingly become a custom option from all the manufacturers. What I like about what Bauer has done here is they put it in with a Velcro tab. So if you like it, you can try it. If you like it, real easy to keep it. If you don't want it, you can order it. It comes with every pad, but you can order it either attached or just in the box to attach it yourself. Real easy little tab, simple Velcro strap. And then from there, it's a two-part adjustability. Again, hopefully you guys can see this okay.
Yeah.
One piece on each side, and you adjust it with Velcro in terms of how long you want it. And then there's also a nylon strap that goes on here. There's different reasons for this. Some goalies like it, especially when it was early on and when it was first adopted. The NHL had just cut back on the max size of the pads. So some of the goalies in the National Hockey League liked it because it helped them. Obviously, when you cut the size of the pad, it didn't mean it had to sit lower. Goalies started adjusting how they wore it. And this allowed them to keep it up on the top of their calf, which when you drop, as we know, is going to have more of the pad up high on your leg and more of the pad in the 5-hole. So that was one of the reasons, not the only reason. For some goalies, they like it because, especially if you're a guy that has a tendency to land on the edge of your knee stack, and this knee stack, the one piece will help, but this kind of gives you that fixed endpoint, right? So you don't hit the edge of the knee stack and you hit the edge and the pad rolls over. I mean, if you guys know, if you miss a knee stack, there's nothing worse than having your knee go hit the bare ice. It's a groin wrecker, right? So that's the second thing that this does. It kind of keeps the leg in the pad, provides a sort of max end range of motion so you never sort of come out. Because we've seen the Velcro strapping, you can start to slide out of them. So that's the reason for it. They've included it. As far as Teddy P27's question about whether it prevents that knee drive crap, no, because there is, well, it's fixed in terms of coming out of the pad. There is an ability for the calf to move sort of independent of the knee pad, and for as you drive to the ice, the pad to separate a little bit before it catches the leg and pulls it down with it. Now, I saw some questions or comments. Andy, did you have a question, bud? Or a comment? Probably just wisdom.
No, I'm good for questions. This is great. I'm just tuning in here. This is fantastic for whatever that's worth. I think one quick thing about our equipment and the way we wear it. On the mobility of the goaltender, hip mobility, getting that pad to the ice sooner, wearing the pad looser, and just the size and general body type of the goaltender is so important. But for whatever it's worth, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying listening right now.
Nice. And for those that don't know Andy, he is the Pittsburgh Penguins goaltending development coach, works with their goaltenders in the American Hockey League, works with some names you would know in the summer as well. So Andy, Bill, thank you so much for joining us today. Like I said, guys, what I like about the addition of this strap for Bauer, first time they've had it on the pad, I love the fact that it's removable. For those of us on here who have tried it and love it, it's great that it's an option without having to go aftermarket or stitched in ourselves. For those who haven't tried it, it's a great opportunity to give it a go without having, with knowing you can just take it off and go without. So that's a great thing. The other, as we stayed on the strapping, just to go quickly, obviously because this knee stack is one piece, the strap on our knee used to come out of the knee stack. Well, now it's been attached on the end. And if you can see that, there's a loop on the end. Yeah. I was a little worried about wear on this. And I asked that question of it. We've had about 20 skates in this amongst the 5 or 6 different goaltenders. that's early. It's hard to say whether it's going to work. You can imagine the pressure on here and not so much the twisting, but the pulling and the bunching and how much pressure that puts on there. They were on top of this early on in their testing. They did find that it needed to be reinforced. They beefed up the material they were using in here. You can see the extra stitching. Hopefully, you can see the extra stitching they put through there to kind of mitigate any of that wear or tear. So they were on top of it after some early issues. What I do like is they've increased the adjustability of the length of the strap by making it adjustable at this end. You can change how high or low, so you can lengthen or shorten it there. And then, of course, as we know, this strap, you can either wrap it around your knee, which is the traditional fashion, and this flap, for those of us who prefer to wrap this down to the calf, Ella Carey Price was kind of the first one to make that popular. If you do this and you find this gets in the way, no problem. Real easy. Real easy if you can operate Velcro better than me. 2 tabs and it's out. So again, if you want a nice open knee channel, if you're a guy that wears bigger knee pads and you want as much space in here as possible, real easy to add it, real easy to take it out. If you know you want this piece on your pad, you want to order custom, you can get it fixed. 2 different entry points here, so you can adjust how much room you have if you do use it. And you can also get it sewn in and fixed in custom. I see a question. Yes, young man.
Are there gonna be new knee pads on the ultrasonic line?
Man, you guys with your great questions that I don't have the answer to. I'm gonna have to go back and make notes on this. I know that in 1S it came with knee pads, didn't it? Yeah, and I can't remember if 2S did or not. That's the one thing about us is because we don't order through retail. We get a box, and I'm not 100% sure what it comes with at retail versus what we get. For example, mine didn't come with a bootstrap. I think it still does. I'll look into that, and we'll answer it on the Instagram. Make sure if you don't see an answer soon, hit us up, info@ingolmag.com, and I'll get your question answered. I apologize for not having it right now. Any other questions on the strapping, or you want me to move down the leg? Okay, we'll move down the leg. So there's the knee strap. We talked about that. It goes to 2 different places. Professor strap. What they've changed in this one on the leg channel now is, well, all the things I just pulled away came flying back. They've gone to the fine-tune or tune fit strapping, much like the 2X line, where you can adjust the length of this strap on the inside of the pad. It's adjustable here in terms of the length, which allows you to customize the fit. I find that if you attach it here, that's a loose fit. If you want to pull it up, you can see how it rotates. You can pull it up here and attach it there. That's going to be really tight around the calf. Because of this large Velcro area and that adjustability on both sides of that strap, you can really dial in the fit on this. I would argue that it's a type of pad that's probably better suited or more commonly suited to a looser fit. This isn't a pad that necessarily you're going to want snug to your leg. It's, I mean, this thing is stiff. This is not Jonathan Quick's Bonds that, like I said, fold like a xylophone, but you can get it tighter and especially if you order it with a flat boot, you can dial that in and get it tighter. Last thing I'll show you on the strapping that's customizable. If you saw it in the review, this is the pillow. This is the inner calf pillow. For Andy and Bill, this is illegal. You're not allowed to have this in the NHL, although I may have seen a few floating around stitched in. I'm assuming with permission, not your guys, of course. Removable. So take it off if you find that it's putting too much pressure under your calf or making the pad too light, too snug. But if you want it, or if you got really big, powerful calves, believe me, I don't. If you leave it in there, though, it creates a nice cushion in the butterfly, a little more support. It also accentuates one of the changes they made to improve the sliding, and I'll show you that in a sec. But first, comes stock with, they originally went with Monster, now they produce their own, sort of the bungee toe tie system you can wrap around your skate. That comes stock. It comes stock offset close to the toe, so you can get that, or close to the inside edge, so you can get that toe to the ice really quick. You can custom order it in the middle. that's the strapping. Now I want to get back though to the inside of this leg channel, and hopefully you guys will be able to see this at home. Whenever we talk about a company improving the seal of the pad, the way Bauer has with the Stabilislide knee, think about it. What a better seal means, you've got more of the pad being pushed into the ice, and your automatic, at least as a reviewer, as in goal, we automatically say, okay, well, is it at the expense of sliding? If you push the pad firmer into the ice, more of the pad's surface flush on the ice, that's more resistance, more drag, more friction when you're sliding back and forth. Anecdotally, no, we didn't get scientific yet. We haven't, and we're still working on a way to sort of properly measure sliding properties. Hutch is the mathematical and scientific background genius. We're leaving that to him because, again, I can barely operate Zoom.
You took the math degree.
Yeah, but I'm still not that bright. So anecdotally, our testers, and especially guys coming from other brands, thought the sliding was exceptional. They felt like they had to actually adjust their pushes because they would get a little through their sliding zones with the same weight they're used to from other pads. I was in 2S Pro before, so I was coming from Bauer to Bauer. I didn't notice a negative difference, but again, that's really hard to actually quantify. I was curious why I wouldn't notice a difference, so I asked them about the changes, and hopefully you guys can see this. Can you see sort of how there's sort of two tones here to this rock hard calf plate? Can you sort of see that it's kind of got two sections?
Yep.
So they have actually offset this, and hopefully you'll be able to see this. But this is the inside edge of the pad, and they've set this inner part, that first section that you could see in the shading, they've set it back a bit. And then this plate along the edge, this thin plate along the edge, is actually what's designed to make contact with the ice, and it's accentuated by the placement of the pillow behind it. So when you land, they're basically putting the pressure of your knee on this really hard surface and the pressure of your calf on this hard surface. And what's a hard surface going to do? It's going to slide better. And by taking this whole section and making sure it's not pressed flush against the ice, they've helped reduce some of that drag that you might experience by having more of the pad flush in the sliding. Now, again, it's a great thought process. Anecdotally, our guys loved it and they felt like the sliding was still exceptional and up to the Bauer standards. They've sort of set the standard for easy sliding pads. Scientifically, to be truthful, I haven't measured it. But the concept makes sense, and the application so far seems to measure up to it. So, yeah, that is me talking a ton. Questions?
Yeah. So why is that pillow illegal in the NHL?
Because there may have been some goaltenders in the past, I don't name names, but that maybe used padding on the inside of the pad to help. If you think about it, if you're driving the ice, for the same reason the NHL started enforcing the maximum thickness of the knee stack years ago, there was a time where they didn't enforce it. It was 2 inches, but nobody was enforcing it, and guys were building it up. So if you think, if I'm dropping to the ice, the more padding I include along the bottom here, A, that seal I talked about is better, and B, that pad gets to the ice, say if there's that much of a pillow or that much extra on my knee stack, I'm going to get that pad down to the ice that much quicker than I would without that pillow, potentially. And anything that gets us to the ice quicker is probably an advantage that, let's be honest, the NHL doesn't want us to have advantages. We're goalies. They want goals. Does that make sense? Am I speaking out of school there at all for the guys that know Billy, Andy? Sound about right? Those are the rules. I just relayed them from Kay.
Well, I think that the rules are there for a reason, because things were getting out of control. But I'm learning more ways to cheat today than I've ever learned before. All these extra pads. But I think the rules are in place for a reason. And, I think it was just more and more companies were getting involved, and there had to be a standard, and it's not a bad thing.
So 2 questions. Both the young guys will go. Of course, all 3 young guys. I'm going to let you guys go randomly in order because I'm pointing at my screen, and of course that means nothing to you. Why don't you speak up? Go for it.
Did Ultrasonic come out with a stick yet?
There is a stick coming. The closest I have seen it is Elvis Merzlikins, the final game that, second to last game I covered before the NHL had to pause this season. He was the first goalie I'd seen in person using it. He loved it in terms of it. He said it was lighter and it had a little more flex in the paddle. But I'm going to be honest, we don't have ours yet. We hope to have a review on it when it comes out. We haven't tried it yet, but that was the quick feedback I got from Elvis. And I promise you, as soon as we get ours, we'll have more feedback. But there is an ultrasonic stick coming. Next question.
I have a question about this strap thing.
Yep.
Like what does not having your foot on the ice do? Because I tie mine really tight that my toe isn't even on the ice.
Okay.
So what would the benefit of it being on the ice or it being more movable?
Okay, so there's a couple parts to that. So let me ask you, Sid, quickly. Do you have are you using laces or are you using a bungee?
I use laces, just wax laces.
So you're really locked in there.
Yeah, I'm locked in there. It doesn't move.
Okay, now I've seen that. I one of the guys that I recall, Mika Kiprasov used to strap his pads like that. Of course, he also used to stretch about 3 hours a day. So
Yeah.
I would think my first answer to you would be when you get to be our age, you might regret not having that gap. Essentially, when you're in the butterfly, the higher your skates are off the ice. This is how it's been explained to me. I don't have a physiology degree. I'm not an expert, but think of it as a relationship between if this is your skate and this is your knee and then up into your thigh. Anything you can do to sort of raise that angle lessens the pressure. So that's why we see guys like Chris was talking earlier about raising his knee. That takes pressure off the knee, takes pressure off the hip, takes pressure off the ankle. The alternative.
Does it help with recoveries?
That's the second part. So first part is physical. So if Chris is raising his knee to change that angle, for you've raised your skate up. Instead of having it on the ice, you've got it up in the middle of your pad. You've made that a more severe angle. And the way it was explained to me years ago actually was Ian Clark that explained it to me. And it was actually an article for Goalie News that I used to edit for him. It becomes exponential through that chain, starting at the foot, through the knee, into the hip. And the higher you have that foot, the more severe that angle is. By the time you get to the hip, the internal rotation and the pressure on there, it's a lot more than you need by having that skate in the air. And the second part, as you said quite wisely, is recovery. So if this is my pad and it's flat along the ice, and my skate is here, my skate blade is down here, I just have to tip my ankle and I've got a skate blade. It's right there, right?
Yeah.
The pad's up here and your skate blade is the edge of my, here, right? In order to get that edge, if my pad's down here, I can almost tip my ankle or just get my pad like that and I've got an edge, right? Just quick. You're up here. How high do you have to raise your knee?
Yeah, I see.
To get that edge.
Yeah,
right?
a lot more.
Now that said, not everyone, it's not like you're making a great push, just by grabbing an edge down here. So I don't want to overstate it. But there is a difference there in terms of the ability to access that edge. It's not like you can make a great push without lifting your knee at all. I think we all have to load to varying degrees. But in terms of being able to access that edge, to grab that edge, whether it's sliding, what if you're sliding, you need to make a quick stop because the play's changed, or you got a quick shot and you're going to slide through your ideal location. You want to grab that edge quickly. You theoretically need to lift that leg higher to grab that edge to stop. And think of if I'm just sliding along and I can grab it maybe like that, how much more of the ice you've opened up to make a stop versus how much, I say me, theoretically, because I'm up here because I have no hips, but the guy who has actual functioning legs and skill and is able to grab that edge down nice and low. And I think the pro guys might have some thoughts on that as well. That's the theory. I only speak to theory. If anybody see me actually play, they know the practical part of this doesn't actually exist. But that's the theory behind it. Does that make sense? Say, Andy, is that?
Yeah, Yeah, I think it's actually a good point. I think sometimes when Sid, a good point you brought up here. When a goaltender likes to control his pad more, maybe it's a little bit tighter on his leg, including the straps at the bottom. So there's one thing is to think about and consider when you're in the down position, expanding your butterfly recoveries, getting that pad to the ice, the mobility of your hips. But it's also important to consider movement on your feet, which is an important part of the game. So if right now you don't have a lot of give down there, you can maybe add 1 knot, see how that feels. The next day, add 2 knots, see how that feels, and go to the point where you find that happy medium where you feel controlled moving on your feet and you can control the pad. And then you get yourself to the point where you have enough give where when you're in the butterfly and on your recoveries, you have some give and you find yourself in the best of both worlds. So I think it's important to consider your pad's function in the down position, but it's also really important to consider how well you can manage the pad moving on your feet, which is obviously a significant part of the game. So I would chip away at that with one knot per day until you get to your sweet spot. I think that's important.
Once the rinks open up, right?
That's exactly right. So in a couple of years from now, you can no, we hope the rinks will open up sooner rather than later, but that's exactly right.
Thank you.
That's a great point about the skating too. I forget that you can't just make it. Not everybody wants it sloppy and super loose either. That hat can have a negative effect as well.
Yeah, I mean, I experienced that at times as a goaltender. I didn't have the biggest wingspan with my butterfly, and I found a lot of value in wearing my pad in a way that I was able to be powerful and assertive in my movements on my feet. And I just found the sweet spot where I got some give and, got a little bit of expansion in the down position. But for me, the priority was being able to move on my feet and control the game on my feet first and foremost. So that's a little insight from something I've experienced.
Okay, guys. Any other questions on the pad? Because we did get a question. From Cam Moore asking about the gloves, and I promise, Cam, we're going to get to the mitts here in a minute because I know that's important too. But any other questions first before we move on about the pads and how these ones perform? If you guys have had a chance to play on the customizer, if you want, I'll go to the gloves. I actually have a video of myself going through the customizer that I can screen share with you guys and take some questions on. What I do love, and if you have a chance to play with it, guys, if you're serious about taking a look at these pads, yeah, hey, go and have fun. Especially a lot of us have extra time right now. Design something better than I did. There are some great looks, but make sure you check out the specs. I think the specs and the customizability of the specs this year are probably more than they've offered in the past. So really have a look through them. And for the guys that want to stick around after we talk on the gloves, I'll throw that screen cap up and kind of walk you through it. Quick question, Trent, go ahead.
About the pads, it's not a question, it's a comment, but they're oddly Eli Wilson colors.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. That's a coincidence. I actually did the design myself. So there's 2 parts to this. One, the companies ask us to make pads that pop. Sort of, and hopefully I at least succeeded in that. I kind of like the silver and the different blues. Not everyone that has seen me in the baby blues like it. So that is a coincidence. We kind of went with blue. I've always gone with blue and green, but I felt selfish because my beer league team just happens to be blue and green. So, if every pad just happens to be my team colors, that makes me kind of look bad. So I added some silver and some baby blue. It's a coincidence on the Eli thing. But hey, we're always happy to support someone who supports us, and Eli's definitely done that over the years. So if that's what you see, we'll take it. Although he's a CCM guy, so definitely not on purpose. Any other questions, or am I okay to move on to the mitts?
So the gloves.
Gloves, blocker. So you guys that were here earlier, we talked about active rebounds. We had the question from Mr. Smith about the active rebounds, and I said Mr. Smith because you're screen name says Christine, so I'm guessing this is wife or daughter's Zoom account. So
I'm far from technologically a wizard.
me too. So this same thing holds. They use the way they use the curve composite, active rebounds, talked any goalies. We talked about it earlier about Craig Anderson adjusting to this as well this year. The puck really pops off this one. You can see the profile of the board, the way it's angled, quite a bit thicker than 2X Pro. 2X Pro had a really thin profile board. This is quite similar actually to the 2S Pro line. So a continuation. What we loved was the improvement in the palm. And I don't know that this is really going to do it justice. It's still reinforced through the high wear areas. What we couldn't figure out, though, is every goalie that put it on told us how much better it felt. And then when we checked the tech specs that they sent to us, just sort of the outline from the manual, the catalog, pardon me. For a writer, I'm not very good finding words. All the tech spec in the catalog said it was the same material. And our guys were kind of like, no, it felt different. And honestly, I couldn't explain it either. I had been told, I had it in my head that this was a new player palm, that they'd actually borrowed a material from it. That's how much softer it felt. Now keep in mind, we're 20 skates in with half a dozen goalies, so it's still a little soft. The way they explained it to me, and looking at our old one, it made sense. They actually took a lot of material out, and it was an idea borrowed from player. The question was that they asked in their sort of planning and development meetings, they asked the question, why do we put so much extra material in the palm of a blocker? Yes, high wear areas, I get that, but why was there so much extra material on the inside, which isn't an area that requires extra protection per se? And what they found is by thinning out, even the finger channels are quite a bit thin compared to before, they just were able to achieve more of a player glove feel. And if anybody who plays both, out and in goal knows, there's that softness in a player mitt that frankly has lacked for some blockers, and you kind of feel it in this one. So our guys were so enamored with it that they assumed it was new material. It's actually just less material. But at the end of the day, it has a softer feel to it. The other changes in the 2S line, there is no inner pillow here. It is there on the 2X Pro line, so that's kind of one of the differentiators between the two. This will be hard to let you see, but in the finger stalls here, you see the white part behind the finger stalls? Those are actual Velcro adjustments. So on these three fingers here, I can adjust how tightly or how loosely I want them to connect to that outer curved protection on the finger. There's a little bit of padding on the back of each finger, which is nice. Obviously, it's ridged here just to give you a little more flexibility. This piece here, you can see that, this extra piece on the inside edge of the blocker there, it comes out with Velcro, double-sided Velcro, and can be sort of adjusted and played around with if you find there's too much interference or it's not protective enough. It needs to be moved out around the stick. Cuff, you can see how they've added some sort of like a little bit of mobility, a little bit of elastic attachment in the cuff. This is a pretty wide open cuff, but it gives it even more sort of range of motion, which we like in terms of steering pucks or handling the puck, although my beer league team hates it when I actually try and do that. I tend to suck at it. This Velcro attachment to give you a more open cuff used to be just a pro option. Only pros were allowed to order it. Now it's stock on this one. And last but not least, I don't know if you guys, you'd have to actually have been in the previous model glove or blocker to see the difference here. So I'll give you the cheat code on this. All of their other blockers had a band, varying degrees of stiffness. Sometimes it was sort of thick, heavy leather and then down. Sometimes it was that material on the back of 2X Pro, and the name's escaping. It was almost like a webbing type material, like a foam with holes in it. Really good description, Kevin.
Like the beehive.
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 Thank
Yeah.
goodness we've got smarter kids than me on here. So they used to have that wrapped around here. And to be honest, we kind of forgot about it in reviews, but in the early reviews, we had a few guys say, like, if we're trying to get a more mobile blocker, why would we place something in here that acts as sort of a stopgap or prevents me from cocking my wrist more? It actually gets in the way. And Bauer listened on this one, not to us, it wasn't our suggestion, but some of our testers had provided that feedback in the past, and they've removed it completely on this one. So now, if you want to loosen, or if you really want to crank that wrist down to, there's just a simple Velcro strap, which they had on the one before, but they've removed that outer bar. So that's a big difference for this one. It just enhances what I think is already pretty good wrist mobility. I'll move on to the glove, but any questions on the blocker, guys? It's a rocket ship for rebounds. I don't know if we showed, some guys came late, I don't know if we've shown this off enough, but this is in the Ingo Swag department from Tendy Fest. Darren Millard would recognize this. We have our very fancy table here, so it's basically been hidden in the background. What I used it mostly to do, guys, was to hide the absolute gong show that is my office behind this table. So the guys on the podcast have seen it, but the rest of you don't need to. Okay, glove. Closest, I'm trying to think of the closest comparison I can make to this. Very much like 2S Pro in terms of the break angle. Like a Vaughn 5500, if anybody's been in that model, that was a model that was popular. A lot of brands tried to sort of capture that feel. That's probably the closest feel for this. A little bit sort of CCM 600-ish in terms of it kind of closes like this, like a first baseman's mitt. That's what we mean when we talk about that in a review, that fingers to fingers, as opposed to like a 590 where it closes hand into palm. That's when we use those two phrases. That's what we mean. To me, 2S Pro was Bauer's best glove. I liked the break, that 5500 feel, but it didn't close easily enough. Even after 2 years, we're still using it. It still can be a little stiff. Out of the box, this was a pretty easy closure. It came closed with a nice little sort of foam football in there and all wrapped around. The biggest thing we had to do to break in was we just had a butt end plug from a player stick that we stuck in there for a couple of days, and so kept it open because it had been shipped like that. So just to get it back open and presenting nice and big. But that type of closure out of the box, I mean, I'm not even sweating on them. We've already established how weak and soft I am. I can get that going pretty easy. So you can kind of see the break line. Like, again, it's hard to say that because the glove position is there that it's designed to be held sort of out like this. Like, you can fingers up with this glove pretty easy, but that is sort of the break across the hands and the way it closes around the fingers. I can go through some of the features on it, but are there any questions out of the gate? It's kind of, I'm actually, to be honest, guys, I'm not sure how to describe this glove to you. So you help me. What questions do you have? We'll go, well, it's under, the count's under Leslie.
Like right there.
Here?
Like on the, like by where the pocket is.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. Like, is it like a vapor glove?
Nope. So a vapor glove would probably, trying to think of how to do this. A vapor glove is going to have a bit of a steeper break up here. So it would kind of close. A vapor glove is going to close. My fingers inside there would close like that, if it makes sense, or more like that. And this glove kind of closes more like that. Does that make sense? I know that's kind of a hard description, but that vapor break angle is going to be a little more up and steeper like that. So it is definitely a distinct break. If you've ever had a Supreme 2S Pro on, that's the break angle. That's the feel that this is going to have on your hand. Different than a vapor line. That's more of the equivalent of, say, a CCM 590. This would be a lot closer to a 600, or as, like I said, the Vaughn 5500. Other questions?
So I got the custom 2S Pros, and I was using the stiffer glove, whichever one, not the game ready one. I think it was like the Pro.
Okay.
And I couldn't break it in, and I did what Carey Price does. I'd bake it before every game, and I still couldn't close it. So since this one, the one that you're using is the game ready, right?
I am 100% sure that ours is game ready, yes. But, so I don't, like, we had game ready last time too, Sid, and we still had the same issue you did in terms of it taking a long time. And it never really did break in. You constantly had to work on it. You know, every time I put it in my bag on the way to the game, I made sure, like, I stored it open, and every time I put it in my bag, because after the first year, I was the guy that wore it for the second year on a pretty steady basis. We really wanted to give that pad a good run, and it's got tons of skates in it. I would actually make sure it was in the bag like this on the way to the game, just to, again, to encourage that, because that was our one criticism of it, is it wasn't an easy break-in process. So I don't have the Pro one here, so I can't make the direct comparison to yours, but I have the same model I had last time, and this is
already better.
Yeah, way better, night and day better.
Okay, because like I'm playing midget AAA U18, and I don't know if I'm gonna make it to juniors or not, and I don't want to get stingers, you know. Yeah.
Right. So I honestly can't tell you what a Pro palm is going to feel like in comparison to this one, what that difference would be, but I can tell you this compared to the previous generation of this, the way they've used the materials, again, less materials is better. A lot of people focus on here with a glove closure, and they forget about the back. If you stiffen up the back too much, think about it. The back closes too. So they changed a lot of the materials on the back to make it easier to close on the front, because how the back closes impacts your ability to close in the front. That was one of the big changes they made in terms of materials and the way they've used them on the back of the glove to make it easier to close it. So again, I don't want to overstate it, because I haven't had a Pro one on, Sid, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but compared to our 2S Pro in the same sort of thickness and protection level, night and day, buddy, night and day.
Thanks.
Other glove questions? Steve.
I had a question about a little while ago. You were talking to that coach that coached in China.
Oh yeah, Dusty.
Yeah, Dusty, and he was talking about glove position and catching. Like you said, all the guys that are coaching now are showing, like, to show the full face of the glove and turn your wrist way around. And he said that he's found that the guys who are really good at catching don't really do that full flush presentation. Their glove is actually turned more of an angle in when they're catching.
Yeah, and we had that video on there, and his theory is that like a lot of guys are sort of a little stabby at pucks, and I don't want to overstate like as he said, because a lot of them are really good at it too. So he was pretty careful to throw that caveat in there. But in terms of, we've heard him talk about how he teaches guys to catch pucks. I got to be honest with you, Steve. I'm the last guy that should be talking about catching pucks. I'm lucky when it hits me, let alone ends up in the glove. I don't want to go too far away from the gear discussion, but Billy or Andy, if you guys had any experience on, because we do see that, that sort of, you can become a little rigid and a little stabby and sort of, instead of cushioning pucks, is there any tips you guys would give other guys to, some of us, like, I came to goaltending late. I grew up playing baseball, so I should be a good catcher of the puck, but I'm not.
I also grew up playing baseball. I'm terrible at keeping it in. Everything I get pops out. So I'd like to find a way, or a glove design that would help me soften that catch.
I think a big part about that too is, like, with hand-eye coordination, it's your hand, it's your actual palm that's catching a ball if you're practicing, especially like in baseball. And then for a hockey glove, like a goalie glove, it's like right here is where you're trying to catch the ball. So if you're watching it into your palm, which is the actual palm part of the glove rather than the actual mitt, like the lace.
That's a good point. That could be one of the reasons why it's popping out, because I'm hitting the palm more than I'm hitting the webbing. Absolutely.
We've seen that from some of the hand-eye coaches where they say put on a glove every once in a while, because if you're always working with balls and you're catching with the palm of your hand, you're basically, same thing Sid was talking about, it is a good point, that you're kind of grooving the muscle memory to catch the ball in here if that's how you're doing it all the time. And as he said, that's not the pocket, and that's where you're going to get pops. So did you have one there, Bill?
Well, for me, I'm obviously the guys that Dusty were talking about were my guys. So I played baseball growing up, and it's just more of the baseball analogy. The baseball players didn't have their palm facing you. It was more of at an angle, and you're receiving the puck. And that's one thing that we talk about a lot. Get away from stabbing at the puck and actually receive it. And it's a fine line because you don't want to get into that position where you're catching pucks behind you, because a lot of guys like to have their gloves out in front where they can see them. But I mean, Jax Campbell's a guy that loves to receive the puck. He's got great hands, and I think that's what Dusty was more relating to, the fact that you receive the puck instead of stabbing at the puck. And in order to receive the puck, you kind of have that palm almost pointing more inside than at the puck, sort of thing. You were talking about turning your hand out. Well, now you're pushing at pucks versus turning your hand more towards you. Now you receive the puck. So it's that receiving motion, and that's what Dusty was relating to. And I just got a text from my buddy Freddie Brathwaite, and he was amazing at catching pucks. And he was a little bit the same, about receiving that puck. He talked about it a lot. It's important to receive it versus stab at it.
I think you should definitely text Freddie back and say, Freddie, you're an InGoal Premium member. Why aren't you on this chat with us?
He's on.
All right, there we go. Freddie, speak up, Freddie Beach.
Thanks, I appreciate it, and I apologize for getting us a little off track here.
No, it's no problem. It's a good question, Stephen. Like we said, we wanted to entertain other questions, not just about gear. You had one.
I find especially dealing with the young, as you said, Bill, I see people going very vertical, and like you say, if anything's being shot up top, just do it yourselves right here now, and just feel how much more tense your shoulder is by holding that, especially being young goalies who haven't got that strength yet, versus our old school. You've got the stability of your arm, and you add the weight of a glove. I find a lot of people have gloves that are either too big, and it's like trying to lift potatoes, So this is a much more natural method or motion, and like you say, playing baseball or in any sport. So I being old school again, I find that it seems to me that even the NHL goalies are going back to a more what I 2 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Am I right, Bill?
Yeah, I mean it's.
This is quick. This is very quick. You can cover a lot of ground.
Yeah, it's called hand-eye coordination, and I think your hand coming towards your eyes that's where we got the analogy of hand-eye. And I think where guys get in trouble is they start off with the big high position, and now they're going down to pucks, and now they're going away from their eyes. And all it is an old baseball term. Where do baseball players start? They start with the glove low on the ground, and then they receive the ball in any position. So that's kind of now I'm old school myself. Played baseball growing up, and it's important to be able to catch a ball properly, and that doesn't change once you get into catching a hockey puck.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's just what I'm trying to pick that up, because again, so many of these young kids are going very vertical, and watching them get beat still upstairs because they just don't have that movement.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah, great discussion. I'm just going to quickly show you guys the back of the glove. So we've got a wrist strap here. I've got it quite loose on there, but I just wanted to show you some of the strapping options. It's kind of hard to show, but the hand obviously, I think we all know where the hand goes in the glove, but I love this part here underneath the hand. It's almost like a neoprene, for lack of a better term. It's what it feels like, and that continues through the finger stalls. And where the 2X Pro glove just had a single straight line across for your adjustment, you can see how big that area is on the Velcro. And so I find that because you can change the angle on it, you can sort of change what part across the knuckles or across the back of the hand you really lock in to get that feel on the palm. And you can almost, and we had a question earlier about whether it closes like a 2X Pro glove. It doesn't, but you can almost get your hand in there at a different angle where it feels almost, it's not quite a CCM 600, or a CCM 590. It's almost in between the two and closes a little more at that pocket higher. And then, of course, one last strap across the top of the fingers if you want to really crank that down and tighten it up. So just a couple key points on the adjustability on this glove and how it might vary from some other gloves. I think that kind of wraps up. Any questions about the gear in general? We've had so many different questions. Sid, you've had great
with
fire
the
away.
glove, I noticed with like the customizer with the actual pocket,
Yep.
you could get a different lacing in the middle rather than on the sides. What does that do? Like, does that help in any way?
Okay,
Like, what is that?
so you can see ours has it. So it has traditional nylon. Stock is a double T. And so
Yeah.
when you talk about in between the two, that's the lacing in there. That's nylon lace there. And then we've gone with skate lace for our pocket lace. Now the concept with using skate lace versus nylon lace is because it's sort of, poking through it's a good idea, Kev. It's softer. Spinning pucks, when we talk about heavy shots and shots that tend to bounce out, I think most of the goalies I've talked to at the highest levels believe that a heavy shot is a shot with a lot of spin on it. And when it hits the glove, having that softer skate lace material, the theory is it's going to kill some of that spin and make it more likely to stick in there than a nylon lacing, which is obviously thinner and a lot firmer. So that's why a lot of people go to a skate lace in the pocket instead of a nylon lace. In terms of the advantage of having skate lace, because I think you're right, you can have it in between here. To be honest with you, I guess it would just be a little more of that softer surface area. It is such a thin area. I'm not sure how big a difference it would make. But you make a great point, Sid, on the customizability of this one. We chose white lace on ours to sort of be able to see it in photos. So you can see where the pocket is versus the webbing and the strapping of the tee. But in addition to being able to choose, like we could have had blue nylon in our pocket and a solid blue look. We actually, this is the first time I think they've offered it, you can actually get colored skate lace too. So not only you get the difference in terms of what type of material you want in your pocket in order to help with potentially pop-outs, but you can actually color coordinate it now. You don't have to be boring like us with the white laces. You could actually make it match our all blue glove. So that's the theory, at least, behind the different materials. Sid, does that answer the question?
Also, yeah, that answers my question, but also with like the durability on the skate lace compared to the other one.
Ooh, you know what? I'd probably ask. I wonder if Andy's ever. I don't know if Andy is ever, if he was a skate lace guy or not. I'm not sure that we've never seen any durability differences with it, but I'm not sure we've, like our 2S Pro line's like maybe 300 skates in. And that's over a couple of years. I don't know that we hammer gloves the way you would playing at such a high level. Even you said midget. On the ice 5-6 times a week, probably, right? You probably hammer gloves even more than us. At the pro level, they hammer them the most. I haven't heard any problems with it wearing down. Do any of the guys have pro experience where skate lace wears down faster than a vinyl lace or the other type?
I've never had the skate lace, and the other one broke down sometimes. There were times that it broke down. But overall, it was never a serious issue that, is something I would look back on as, I wish I did it one way or another. I never had skate lace, although it looks great, which is also something to think about. It's important to feel good looking at your equipment when you're getting dressed and you're putting your glove blocker on, and it's nice to look at something that makes you feel good just before you go on the ice as well. So, I mean, there's so many components to your equipment, and it's such a feel thing for everybody. But I think it almost always comes down to preference. For me, I have had limited issues with my gloves in that regard.
Okay, thank you guys.
Any other questions? Are you guys tired of hearing me talk yet? You got any other questions? Does anybody want to walk through the customizer or have any questions about the customizer? We've been on here a little longer than we were scheduled. I see we've lost a few. You can only take me in such a dose before you get absolutely. Fred Brathwaite has a question. I hope it's a good one, Freddie. We waited.
Well, I'm just wondering if you could kind of make the Barrett glove similar to my old Bond here. Can you make that happen?
I have a feeling that that may not pass current NHL specs, Freddie.
Are you kidding me? Look at that.
Use that to catch pucks or catch trout?
That's like a peach basket. We see that in beer league all the time. Those guys use all those illegal gloves.
That's
they
why I was
bought 15 years ago.
Sorry, guys. Like I said, this is new for us. I hope this has been of some value to you guys as well. If you had any questions you wanted to fire away on, or would you like me to walk through the customizer? It's probably 10, 15 minutes, but I also don't want to keep you if you'd rather just check out.
Run through it.
Check out. I just want to say thanks.
Yeah.
I really appreciate this broadcast and the chance to really get some good information on a brand new product. Thanks a lot.
Well, I thank you to you guys for checking in first of all. And there are some that want to. So what I'll do here is I will go through the customizer and a screen share. No obligations to slide out of here, guys. It looked like we actually had a pretty good crowd here for a while. Some guys have slid out. No ill will, no hard feelings. I did want to say thanks to Freddie and Billy and Andy for coming on board and chipping into the discussion, you guys. I mean, wow, like kind of honored to have you guys take the time out of your day to speak with our readers and answer their questions. It means a ton to us that you maybe saw some value into coming in, but it means more that you were kind enough to share your time with them. It's an honor and a privilege that you guys are taking part in this, and I can't thank you enough.
Well, thanks for having us on. I won't be sticking around because I'm not ordering any new equipment anytime soon. I'm done with that phase. But thanks for all the great insight, Kevin. It was awesome.
Thank you, Billy.
Yeah, I second that. It was really great being on here, even for everyone. There's so much learning that can take place for myself to see Bill on here and Freddie and all of you guys and Kevin, the way you speak about your knowledge about the equipment, it's really impressive. And this kind of hot stove is pretty special. Like to come on here like this, no matter what the topic, I think there's so much that could be taken away. So this was cool for me to come on and see, and thanks for having us.
I was going to say just one thing, guys. I think we've got a winner here from a format. Obviously, we made this in-goal premium only in terms of the audience because we just wanted to make sure, A, to show you guys we value you, but B, just what happened if we opened it up to the 37,000 on our email list. But thank you to everyone who took part, and thank you for being a part of in-goal premium. I know, hey, we're asking for a little money to be part of it. We've had in-goal now for 10 years, and we felt like it wasn't going to survive unless we started sort of making it run like a business, and the buy-in from everybody to be a part of it. And hopefully the material, if you guys have questions, things you want to see differently, our doors are open. Provide us, hit us up. Ask us if you want to see something we're not doing, you want to see more of, just hit us up. We can't thank you enough for being a part of in-goal premium. It means a lot to us. And the more people we get on board, to be honest, that's the more resources we're going to have to expand it and do more things like this. So thank you very much to everyone who took part today. And for you guys that want to stick around, I'll say goodbye to those that want to bail. But I'm happy to take the time running through the customizer if we have anyone left. Freddie, we'll hit you up soon, buddy.
Sounds good.
Well done,
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. I appreciate it. An old goalie that's got to learn an awful lot to teach the young kids. So I really appreciate it. The tech side of goalie equipment now is just amazing.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much for taking part. And hey, for those of you who are left, and we do have a few, 5 minutes it looks like to run through this. I'm going to do a screen share on the customizer.
There's another old pro just joined us there, Woody.
Another old pro.
Give us a wave, Peter Martin.
Oh, Pete, you're late.
Peter Martin of Pro Skate Goal in Calgary, if you're looking for advice, is another fantastic reference. Good friend of In-Goal for years.
Sorry, guys, I got wrapped up in the photo booth at the store getting stuff ready for the web next week.
Okay, so Pete, we actually, we had a question earlier, and I don't know if he is still on here. We may have just lost him, but I'll see if I can find him on the list of guys who were here and maybe message him. We had a question because we were going over the Bauer line, and they asked if they could order them. And my impression was And I know they didn't want to overwhelm retailers. This is obviously a difficult time for all of us. Staffing has changed in terms of everybody's business has changed right now. The whole world's changed. I was under the impression, though, that if you did a customizer and you went through the customizer, you could place a custom order through a retailer like yourself at ProSkate.
The latest info we've been provided with is that's not the case. They're inviting guys to spend some time customizing their favorite set of pads up, and I think we're looking closer to mid-April date where they'll actually be able to submit some orders to the stores.
Okay, so that's only a couple weeks away, but I jumped the gun earlier, so we'll have to make, before we publish this, we'll make that correction. We wish you'd had you on earlier. Clearly, I suck. I had the wrong intel.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can double check on that, Woody, for you. But if I look back on my launch email that I did get from Bauer Goal, they certainly gave us the feeling that right now they were just inviting customers to enjoy some downtime and use the customizer to the best of their skill and whatnot to design their favorite setup, and that they would I can double check on my phone, but the 17th is sticking out in my mind for some reason.
Yeah, we can update that one. Okay, listen, guys, I'm going to run through the customizer. I got a little video that I did. We're going to do a little screen share here. Hopefully I can pull this off without losing everyone. I'm kind of bad at this. We've established that.
Quick look at the new Bauer customizer for the Supreme.
Of course, you have to actually do screen share before you go full screen. Again, Kevin is not that smart. Share, desktop, share.
Ultrasonic line, as you can see over on the right, you've got your ability now to choose a construction and pick which graphic you want. So obviously we're going to start with the ultrasonic construction. Take a look, you can actually put a 2X Pro graphic on it. That looks pretty good, but of course we want the ultrasonic. Let's take a look at the colors we have here. We'll quickly try and do up the set that basically we ordered at InGoal. It's going to be a dark blue on zone 1, light blue on zone 2, zone 3 we went with a silver, just trying to mix it up and make it pop. Click on the components, top welting, we went with the navy to match the blue, bottom welting, lots of options now, silver to match that bottom, logos, silver.
Is that pretty much your set there, Woody?
That's our set. Somebody pointed out it looked like Eli Wilson colors. That wasn't on purpose, but for some reason it stopped there.
Who would say that?
Now we're getting into my. You guys are seeing behind the scenes here. I have a very messy desktop and spinning wheels because my computer doesn't like me. I clicked on the wrong video. Oh, now you guys are getting a tease at the. You guys are getting tease it all. Look at all this. This is what's going to come on InGoal Premium soon. Alex Ald's mask history. Hutch, I'm giving away the world here.
It's okay. They're members. They can have it.
That's true. So there's where we were. I used the wrong video, so now I'm just going to start this again, and you can see there's 3 minutes left. So this is us going over the back of the pads.
Which we also.
Yeah, those are spectacular.
Did include.
Big fan, by the way. If I didn't mention to you, Kev, that article you guys did on the breakdown on that pad was fantastic. Props to you guys. That was awesome. Well received.
The elastic and Velcro has come.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you. Thanks to Hutch for making it look so pretty. Anybody can make my writing look good with good layout is deserving of some type of award.
The back cover along the back facing. And I silver that, or you can change it to a blue. So as we said, lots more custom options on the new Ultrasonic, as well as the ability to do more in terms of your custom look. your custom fit and your custom flex and feel, mixing and matching between the two lines. Get on the Bauer Customizer and enjoy it. Here's the big one, pad specs. Start with size. We ordered a large to match last time.
And just for those that are still following along with us, I think this is the big one to me that you really need to pay attention to when you're doing the customizer. It's great and fun to design pads, but I love the increase in terms of options this year that they have, with the ability to mix and match the boot flex and the flex below the knee. So I think if you are going custom, it's really important to understand how that's going to work for you as a goaltender, work for your game, and understand what options are available here. We'll try and run through them all right now.
The adjustable is stock, but as you can see, sewn in lower, sewn in center, both options if you want to have that fixed and permanent. Adjustable is easy removable. We like that one. Strapping, boot strap. We don't use one. You can choose short, long, or even leather. We'll just take that off because we can. Toe alignment comes offset. You can change it to center. We like offset. You can choose leather as well if you want. Leather straps for those of you who like a more traditional fit, fixed endpoint and all that. We went without. Flex, this is a big one because this has changed. In the Pro Custom here, you've got 5 different flex points. Stock is mid. You can see how it changes if we're extra soft, soft, mid, again, what we have in stock, stiff, or extra stiff. Profile of the pad actually doesn't change much. It's just sort of that flexibility within there. Change that back, and here's a big one. Used to be it was tied the thigh rise to the boot. If you picked a certain thigh rise stiffness, you were locked into a boot flex. Not the case anymore. 125 degrees soft, so it's a steeper boot angle. That is stock on the Ultrasonic. 2S Pro is 125 degrees, but stiff. And now, for the first time, you can choose that flatter 100-degree soft boot angle that came on the Vapor line, but get it in Ultrasonic. We'll just set it back to the soft 125 that came stock with our pads. Tune Fit Connect. This is the new strapping we talked about. You know, a lot of people think of this as a professor strap. It comes with every set. You don't have to use it. It's removable. What you do have the choice of is whether you want it just sitting in the box or you actually want it assembled on the pads. It's a bit of a nitwit and struggle with assembly. I'm going to have them do it for me. It's a really simple system. Elastics and Velcro to sort of strap in on either side around the top of your cap. There's a Velcro attachment on the back, as well as a nylon strap and a plastic buckle. So that's a quick glance at the pads. We're going to have a webinar tomorrow. Make sure you check back, and you can see all the different things that we can do with these pads.
And so obviously I said we were going to have a webinar. We're having that webinar right now.
Don't forget about the most exciting option that's going to be available.
Which is?
You'll be able to swap the graphics in between the models.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier for sure. And that was, I think, that was supposed to be part of that video, but I clicked on the wrong thing. Sid, you got more questions and you've had awesome questions all day, so fire away.
Like, you know, like, cause most of us, you know, we're not pros, we're not in the NHL, we're not in the AHL, we're not getting that, let's try 5 different pads, 5 different customization of the pads to figure out what we want. You know, we have this one shot, order it, and we pray that it's exactly what we want. So how should we go about figuring out what we want, what we like? Is there like, I know there's like a Bauer store in Minnesota I've been to a couple times. Like the On the Moment, I don't know if that's still around, but like I could test out the pads on the ice and they had different specs. But you know, here in California, we got like one store.
Well, that's tough. I got to be honest with you. Though. I think that the perfect world, you find a demo day. Pete runs one in Calgary. We obviously have one in here in Vancouver, Tendy Fest. Pete runs an awesome one through his shop. That's the best way. next best thing, because you're right, it's not everybody gets access to it, is to find good people in the industry that speak the language, that understand and can converse the way we've conversed today. You obviously understand your gear, you have great questions, and to find someone on the other end at retail, this is going to sound bad, but not just somebody who's in high school making minimum wage and just working there. Somebody's a real goalie. They can help you. It's not going to be the same as trying it on, but they should be able to help you have these conversations. And I'd recommend somebody like Pete, because he speaks this language, he understands these things, and he works with people that understand it as well. That would be my best recommendation, not just because he's on the line and we love him, but because I've seen firsthand how having someone who understands the gear help fit it can make such a difference, because there is an element of crapshoot when you don't get to try it. But they can at least make some of that guesswork educated and no surprises, right? Hopefully the reviews help a bit too, but